Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So today we're going to be making a very simple and crude but effective pair of tongs. These are blacksmithing tongs that you can take and use, and they are in all rights a fairly historical example of tongs. Now this will be deviating a little bit from some of the earlier examples, but basically they're like the old school version of grilling tongs. Now you can use these. Now grill tongs that you buy now are very flimsy and springy and just really flimsy, so they don't work too well for actual blacksmithing or doing anything like this. But I'm going to show you how we can rectify that. So what we're using is a piece of 1/2 inch round bar stock, or 12.5 millimeter in metric. And I think you can get like 13 mil and it should work out just fine. Either 13 or 12 mil or whatever it comes in your locale. And then this piece is a piece that is 3 feet long. It's a 3 foot long piece. I have found the center of this 3 foot long piece and I've marked off 6 inches long, or 150 mil. And I've got that mark in there by taking and doing the width of my anvil and hammering on the corner, and then coming down and hammering on the other corner, and that gave me those marks, my start marks. What we're going to do is we're going to aim to take and widen this by half of its thickness here, half of the thickness of the bar stock, and keep it fairly thick in this area, roughly about 1/4 inch or 6 mil is what we're looking for. So without further ado, let's get that portion of it done, and then we will talk a little bit about the ends. Okay, now that we've got this opened up, we're going to go ahead and bend it towards each other, so towards those same shoulders that we created earlier. We just want to bend this right on around the anvil horn and keep it somewhat even if you can. Right as you go right on around. The more even you keep this, the better off you're going to be. So just keep that in mind. You're going to keep this as even as you can. And the ideal here is just to get it bent into a U. Now, something we're not going to do is we are not going to finish this off just yet. We just wanted to get this bent into a U shape. By the way, I'm making these out of mild steel. You can do this out of coil spring or whatever you like. Mild steel should work just fine, although you can get just a wee bit more spring into it if you use something like coil spring. Obviously, as the name implies, you can get more spring out of it, which will be better for you in the long run. So something to think about. If you've got enough coil spring to do this with, this is a great way of doing this. You will, however, since it being a high carbon steel, you'll need to take and beat this thinner back here. But basically, this is what we got, a big U. Now what we're going to do is set this off the side of the fire to cool. Let this cool down. And then we'll cool it off the rest of the way in some water. And then we're going to come in out here and we're going to actually make the jaws on these ends here. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. And it's fairly simple and it might not be what you're thinking. So stick around for that. Next point here, we'll actually go over to the vise. Okay, so now we're going to lock this in the vise. I've got a pair of soft jaws in the vise just to take and hold the stock a little bit better. We're going to lock this in the vise. We're going to use a slitting chisel. And we're going to line it up in about the center. And then we're going to start cutting. You don't have to go real deep with this. You can make it as deep as you like, depending on the thickness of material that you want to hold. I'm going to make this to hold about 1/2 inch or so. 1/2 inch material, as that seems to be a fairly common size. And so now we've got that first split done on the end. The next part, we'll go to the other side and we'll do the same thing on this side as well. So we'll get that heated up and do that. And then we'll be back over at the anvil and I'll go ahead and show you how we're going to do the next part where we actually bend these to each other and then finish these little dudes up. Okay, now I'm going to set this over and I'm going to shoot for approximately about 2.5 inches to maybe 3 inches to bend. Okay, and I just want to bend this straight down at itself at about a 90 degrees. And then I want to try to overshoot that 90 degrees just a bit. And you'll see why that's important here in just a second. Good. Straighten that up. We'll get these nice and straightened out. Looks like we're doing good. Just like so. So that's what we're looking for there. Now we're going to do the same on the other side. We'll get that heated up and do exactly the same thing. Okay, so there you go. And you can see how that is. This is the last part here, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to go ahead and fit this portion here closer together to bring these in a lot closer. Now the ideal here is you want these to have just a little bit of spring. So you don't want to bring these all the way down to where they're touching. You want them to have just a little bit of spry out, so this way you can slip the bar in and then you can go ahead and grip them. So you do want them to have a little bit of spring the opposite direction. So we'll go ahead and heat this hoop up after these have cooled down just a second. And we will bring those a lot closer together to actually fit the bar stock that we're using. One of the last things I want to point out here, if you've noticed, I have not used a pair of tongs this whole time in order to take and make these tongs. So even if these are a temporary pair of tongs that you are making until you can make yourself better tongs, this is a great way if you don't have a set and you need a set that you can make them fairly quickly as long as you have an anvil and a vise, or you can figure out other ways of doing it at the anvil as well. It just may take a little more trick and time. So let's get this in the fire, we'll get this end hot, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now when you pull it out of the fire, you want to make sure that these two here go together, your jaws go together, and that you take out any unevenness that there is in them. You want them to be nice and in line. And now we're just going to simply tap right in here and try to get these a lot closer. Now it's going to want to kink on you, so you're going to have to keep hammering that kink out. But you want to get these a lot closer and get your bend going here. Once again, you have to keep that loop if you can, okay? Now one of the easier ways of doing this is to already pre-bend these outwards at a 45 before you go around, and that'll be a little easier on you, but not everybody has that skill available to them just yet at this time in their blacksmithing career. although it's a valuable thing to learn, it may not be feasible for you. So the ideal here is we want these to come down and have about a 1/2 inch of space, a 1/2 inch or 12 mil of space, all the way up to maybe 5/8 or 16 mil, if you will, of space in between this back rear portion here. So we're going to heat this up, and I'm going to go ahead and go at that again to hammer this in a little bit closer. So focus your heat in this area. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's a pair of tongs. As you can see, they make great little railroad spike tongs. These are not meant to be super hard holders or anything like that. You definitely will not get the clamping pressure that you do with a decent pair of tongs. But that's not the point of these tongs. These tongs are for the rank beginner. If you're having struggles actually making a pair of tongs with a hinged joint, this eliminates that. It's just a couple bends and a couple bit of slot cuts. Now, as you can see here, I've got a tong clip on here. I've made videos on the channel. I'll put the links to those in the description down below. That will greatly help with your aid and ability, but that just goes to show you, you can take and do stuff with tongs that are as simple as this and still be able to get your blacksmithing done. So don't let not being able to make tongs inhibit you from actually going out there and getting started blacksmithing. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a like. And like always, God bless you, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.